In today's episode, is your school ready for coaching? Hello, coaches! Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Quick Tips. My name is Kim Cafino, and my goal is to help you coach better. After decades as a teacher and coach in international schools, I founded my company, Eduro Learning, to help you embrace your inner leader and make a bigger impact in your school setting as a teacher, a coach, or a leader. I work with clients around the world through our certificate programs and private mentoring packages, and these episodes are often inspired by those powerful conversations. If you have a question you'd like to hear us answer, please leave a comment below, join our Coach Better Facebook group, or find us on social media at Eduro Learning and send me a DM. You can find all of our resources for instructional coaches and listen to our full podcast episodes on our website at coachbetter.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch all of our latest episodes. Today, we are going to chat about how to recognize if your school is ready for coaching. If you listened to or watched a previous Coach Better podcast episode with Jen Ricks, you might have listened to the podcast or watched the spotlight. You might have heard her talking about moving to a new school and recognizing that it was really important for her to really understand where the school was at before she started to build a coaching culture. You can have this impression when you move from one school to the next that I'm just going to kind of hop from the same level of coaching readiness to another school with the same level of coaching readiness, and it's not always the case. I know I've gone from one school that had a really strongly established coaching program with coaches in many different subject areas to a school that had never had coaches before, or maybe had a very tight description of what coaching was, and it wasn't really the broad understanding of coaching as I thought of it. And myself personally, at the time when that happened, I just kind of pressed ahead and really didn't do my best to stop and take a look around and really understand where the school was to help kind of build that capacity for coaching. I just kind of steamrolled my way in there. And I don't recommend that, even though I loved working there and it was a great experience. I learned from that. I learned about the importance of checking the temperature of the room, the importance of really understanding where not only the staff is, but the school leadership is. And sometimes there's a really big gap between those two groups of people, and really understanding where the school is at. So you're helping move the school forward in a way that is actually practical and achievable for the school community. So today I've got a series of questions to help you think about and recognize where your school is at in terms of coaching readiness. And I'm excited to share these with you because they've really consolidated some of my thinking over the past couple of years working with clients inside the coach certificate and mentorship program, because oftentimes I have clients come to me who are really passionate about coaching. They wanted to be a coach. They're excited about being a coach. But once they get into the role, they start to realize that, oh, this school may have hired me, but they may not be prepared for actual coaching to happen. Like, we need some of these foundational elements in place for coaching to be successful. And that's why inside the coach, we start with the clarity phase. We start by understanding not only your role, but where is the school at, and are we ready for coaching at our school? You may come to the coach from an already established coaching culture, and then you don't need to go into depth on all of those pieces. So that's another really nice thing about the coach, is that you really can customize the learning journey for yourself because you work with a mentor and you have the option to personalize. But I think even in a school where you have a strong coaching culture, sometimes it's worth looking back and reflecting on what are those foundational elements that make coaching work here? What are the pieces that make coaching work? Because maybe someday you might consider moving to another school, or you might consider trying another position in a different school where you might have to work from this kind of ground level again. And of course, it's always great to be able to share the success in your school community and how it kind of fits into the framework of building a coaching culture. Okay, let's dig into these questions. Some of them may seem a little obvious, so if you have these in place, fantastic. That first one, maybe the most obvious one, is, do you have a shared vision about what coaching is and can be? And when I say shared vision, I mean not just your coaching team, not just the professional learning team, but your school leaders, all the way up to your school director or head of school, and your teachers, all the way down to every single person that you're going to work with in your coaching role. Can you find this vision somewhere? Is it easily accessible? Is it on the website? Do others know it exists? Is it visible? And how and when do you reference this vision? Did you talk about it when you wrote it 4 years ago and you've never referenced it again? Or is it part of your consistent communication about why coaching is valuable in this institution? My second question for you to think about is, do you have a school leader who is an advocate for coaching? And this is really interesting because a lot of the time as coaches, we are the only individuals who are strongly advocating for coaching. We may be on a team, there may be a couple of us, but when you get a champion on the senior leadership team, then you really see coaching begin to flourish because coaching becomes part of all the professional learning that happens on campus. It becomes part of all the school goals that are decided by that senior leadership team. So when you're thinking about your school leadership, who on the SLT is an advocate for you and coaching? How do you keep coaching on the radar in those higher level team meetings? If you don't have an advocate up there, how can you build some advocacy for coaching on the senior leadership team? What can you do? What can you put in your daily routines to help build an understanding of the power of coaching for those senior leader members? My third question for you to consider is, what is your principal's understanding of the coaching role? This is such an important one. This comes into phase 1 of the coach certificate and mentorship program. Actually, so do the other two. But in phase 1, we really talk about the alignment of your role with your school leader, because if your principal sees you as someone who's evaluating or just a cheerleader or kind of like a mini admin, it's going to be really hard for you to do proper coaching in your school setting. So finding opportunities to build clarity and build understanding with your principal about the purpose and value of your role is key, so that you can make sure you're not being assigned tasks that are not really coaching, so that your administrator isn't asking you evaluative questions about teachers, so that you are able to do the job you were hired to do. You need alignment and clarity on your role as a coach. My next question is about frameworks and structures. What frameworks and structures do you have in place for coaching to be successful in your school? And this comes in phase 2 of the coach certificate and mentorship program, where we talk about consistency. Is there time built in the schedule for coaching? How does coaching become part of the regular conversations about curriculum planning and professional learning at your school? Are you part of those planning meetings or curriculum development? Is there any expectation to work with a coach as teachers or leaders in the school? Is your school built to sustain a coaching practice, or are you constantly just kind of like fighting your way in there all the time, trying to make a round peg fit in a square hole? My next question for you to consider is, what is the culture around coaching? What do teachers know or believe about coaching? Are teachers engaged or reluctant or resistant? Are you starting from an assets-based perspective, or is coaching viewed as a deficit model in your school? When we think about building a coaching culture, and we talk about this in phase 3 of the coach certificate mentorship program, when we talk about building community, we talk about creating a model of coaching, creating a coaching environment, creating a coaching culture that really supports professional growth for everyone. We're all here to learn. We're all here to grow. If we believe that student learning is at the core of what we do, we should also believe that adult learning is part of what we do here as schools. So how can we build that community around growth mindset, professional growth, that it's okay to be coached? In fact, it's valuable to be coached, so that we have this perception and culture that coaching is something we should all want. My next question for you to reflect on is kind of along those lines about a coaching culture. What previous experience have educators in your school community had with coaching? If you're finding reluctance or resistance, Is there baggage around the concept of coaching? In this school previously, has coaching been viewed as a deficit model? Has it maybe only been for people on a support plan? Well, then you have a lot of ground to cover to build up that it isn't a deficit. It isn't about what you can't do. It's about the opportunity that we all have to grow. If people have positive experiences in their past, can you build on those positive experiences? So how can you engage in the existing culture around coaching to move it towards the positive that you're looking for? And again, we work on that in phase 3, building community in the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program. My next question is about who is building the culture. So we talked about finding an advocate on the senior leadership team. We talked about having a positive environment around coaching in your school. But it's also really important to know that you have some go-to people, some teachers, some leaders, some specialty experts in the school who are the people who are really invested in the success of coaching aside from you. That community that you can build to build capacity on staff so it's not just on your shoulders. That's also in part 3 of the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program. All of these questions are designed to help you think about where exactly your school is at in terms of building a coaching culture, in terms of readiness for coaching. So as you go through those questions and think about where are we? Where do we have an opportunity to grow? Where are we already strong? We work on all of those inside the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program. In fact, one of the resources in our program is an article that I'll share here that I think you'll find really helpful. It's from Jim Knight, and it's called Moving from Talk to Action in Professional Learning and the Stages of Implementation. And he talks about coaching from the perspective of what I think of as the customer awareness model. He talks about non-use, awareness, mechanical use, routine use, and proficient use. And we're working towards that proficient level of coaching in our communities, but analyzing, recognizing, and understanding where we're actually at as a community will help us move through those scales so we can become proficient, thriving coaching communities. I hope this episode was helpful for you today. All of the topics that I discussed are part of the Coach Certificate Mentorship Program. We go through 3 phases in the program. We start with phase 1, clarity, where you're looking at defining your role, aligning that with your school leadership, and communicating that with your colleagues. We talk about implementing consistently, how you practice coaching, developing your coaching skills, asking better coaching questions, being able to manage coaching moments and making the right moves when you're in a coaching conversation, what that looks like from an individual and then a school-wide scale. And then we talk about in phase 3, building community, building capacity in your school so that you're creating a thriving coaching culture that goes beyond just you, and sharing, celebrating your success and measuring the impact you're making as a coach. If any of that sounds interesting to you and you are curious and ready to dive deeper into your coaching practice, maybe you're just getting started as a coach, or maybe you've been a coach for years and you're really ready to elevate and refine your coaching practice, because you have the support of a mentor throughout the program, you really get the opportunity to personalize and customize your learning all the way through. There's no point where everyone has to do exactly the same thing. You get a lot of opportunity to personalize, customize, and reflect on the implementation of your coaching skills as you go through the program. Our next cohort for the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program opens for registration soon, and we only open registration once a year. So if this is interesting to you and you're ready to dive deeper into your coaching practice, now is the time. Head over to edurolearning.com/coach to get all the details about the program, including the dates, the pricing, testimonials from other clients, exactly what you'll get inside the program to see if the coach is right for you. If you have any questions, you're curious about it, you want to hear more about it, but you're not sure, please reach out to me. I love to chat with you and share with you about how we can support you inside the coach. And I will definitely connect you with our previous clients so you can hear straight from them why the coach was powerful for them and why they think you should do it too. Hopefully today was helpful for you and gave you a little bit of insight into what we offer inside the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program, and gives you an opportunity to think about where you are in your coaching readiness at your school. See you next time.